Morning, everybody. Announcements.
Well, I want to mention something. Chuck, the stuff I've been seeing on Flickr, you are taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job. Absolute great job. I think that the bridge pictures, the things you did at that workshop.
Oh,
I mean,
that was amazing. Yeah, that stuff was.
Yeah, everything that I see you putting on Flickr recently has been just up and up and up.
Oh, thanks. I had a brief announcement too that I know one of the upcoming themes is sports photography. I think it's called.
Yeah.
And guys, most of you probably know I participate in a kind of bike. Well, I'm a cyclist, but in particular, I like to race this kind of sport called cyclocross, which is a great event to photograph because it's on a closed course and you can pick a point, and there's going to be a couple of those races coming up in the area, like in Raleigh. There's a course called Lion Park, and it's close to downtown Raleigh. I'm just going to point it out as a possible place to take some sports images, and I can send details out, like I can send you guys and you can forward them, but I can like I send the schedule. It's in a few weeks. It's the 21st and 22nd of October. So I don't need that. Yeah, I think I checked. I think that's before the sports challenge the week it would be, but I think I checked to see how it lined up. It was I think just before. I think maybe our meeting might be that following Tuesday.
Yeah, I think the 24th is the the sports.
So it'll be your last chance.
That's right. Yeah.
And actually, now I think there is going to be, the park at Briar Chapel, where there's the dog park in Boston. There's going to be one of those races there this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, really?
It's not going to probably have as many participants, and it's not quite as polished of an event. It's kind of like a training event, but there'll be people on bikes competing, and you can probably get some sports shots there too. And it starts. I can send that link to a bit. It's like pretty much from about 10 in the morning to mid-afternoon. Various age groups and classes and stuff. It's organized by skill level and by age group.
Okay, any other announcements? Helen?
Three things. I'm glad that people are beginning to use Flickr, and I encourage everybody to do so. I think it's a wonderful sharing opportunity. I've enjoyed looking at Frank's photos and his recent. So, if you haven't gotten your information on Flickr, your
Facebook.
if you have a Facebook account, your email to Frank, do. And has everybody gotten what we have so far?
Yeah, I got some more
Yeah.
this week or the week before, and I've updated. I brought a copy of it. I'm going to just pass it around. People here can take a look at it and say, "Oh no, oh I did," and let me know, because sometimes I can't find the email for whatever reason. All right.
Good. I just wanted to be sure we can get that so that we can instead of going through one of the members of the pick, everybody communicate with everybody else.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, if that information been distributed, it's been collected?
We're in the process of collecting. Frank's got a.
Yeah, I'm going to pass this around now.
Oh,
And then,
okay. Gotcha.
if you can write it in, and then when I go home, I'll update it and then send it back out again.
Does anybody have a web page of their own? I'm sure that Timothy does. Does anybody else have? Okay. I was wondering about that when I sent my stuff to Frank, and I didn't know for sure how many had their own website, so. And Bob, are you still able to hear us okay?
Pretty well, yeah.
All right. We have, moving to photos, we have, 17 today. First two are Stephen, whose name I misspelled. But other than that, get rid of some of the extra stuff. All right. Stephen.
It's a little
Sir.
Bryce.
Yeah, that's from Bryce National Park. And I was just kind of going through summer-ishy kinds of things to see what I might pull for this. And I guess what was striking to me is the difference between our mountains here and the mountains on the west. You know, the scale of things is so much bigger. And I think I like ours better. So, I mean, in Bryce Canyon, you know, there were pictures also of like huge canyons, and you might see, you know, hundreds of these rock formations out there, you know, going for miles. And I'm kind of overwhelmed by that. You know, I have an easier time going to digest it, but it's in some way kind of what for me is kind of a more human-sized kind of thing. So the other pictures is kind of like my feeling about the mountains themselves. They're grander out there, but I like ours better. And I guess what I like better from pictures I'd taken out there were things that were again more kind of Appalachian scale than they were Rocky Mountain scale of things. It is astonishing. If you've not been to Bryce Canyon, it's probably the most different, you know, the Grand Canyon or Zion, but what's characteristic of these kind of columnar things that you're seeing coming up, and they may be freestanding and 200 feet tall and so forth, and you know, thousands of them in the view at the same time. It's quite amazing. I guess the other thing, you know, you kind of learn things about yourself, and what I kind of am coming to accept about myself is I don't particularly have a photographer's eye for things like I think, say, Chuck does. You know, Chuck brings some pictures in here, things that I think, wow, I would have never seen that, and that's interesting. So I don't have any pictures of things you've never seen, but you know, I'm sort of content with the idea that I can recognize something as beautiful when I see it. And, okay, so I'm not trying to be creative. I think with my pictures, I'm just trying to capture the beauty of something that I'm looking at, and you know, for me, that's enough. I like it.
And this next one is an example of that, I think. I'm having trouble getting the thumbnails from approaching on the photos, but I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
But this one's also Stephen. I really love this shot.
Yeah.
Where was that?
That is in a little state park just outside of Rocky Mountain National Park. And it's maybe another kind of example of the kind of thing that I was trying to talk about, that, you know, in Rocky Mountain National Park, it's overwhelmingly awesome. You know, you're up 10, 12,000 feet. You can see 20 or 30 miles. Everything you see is just knock your eyes out, gorgeous. And it overwhelms me. Whereas this is kind of condensed enough and small enough, I kind of look at it and go, ah, instead of, oh my.
Well, you've got all the elements, you've got sky, mountain,
Yeah.
water, you know,
Yeah.
trees, so it's very.
You can kind of get all
compact.
those things in the same place, yeah. Yeah.
Nice
Nice cloud.
Yeah.
Stephen, I'd like the saturation color in this one. Really pops.
Yeah, I wondered, but sometimes I have a tendency to go a little much with that, you know, in this
Right
one.
here, not in my mind.
Not on this one. But
Yeah,
I've seen ones where they have, you know, blown it up too much.
That guy from the Chapel Hill Chemical.
Sense the depth, the depth of that, you've got the near, the medium, the far, whatever, but I just
Yeah,
feel
it
like
lent itself
it's
to that
3D
very nicely,
almost.
yeah.
It's like a 3D picture.
Yeah, the water and the reflection of the water.
Yeah.
Why not?
Nice.
And the big thing in images like this, the clouds are so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, the previous one where you just have the blue,
Mhm.
but boy, you add a little,
Yeah, even the
Yeah.
clouds are
Give it a
good.
lot more
Yeah,
contrast.
so much so that I will cheat sometimes and throw in some clouds. out there. This one is the real McCoy.
Bill is next.
So summer to me is beach.
Oh, yeah.
And I submitted 3 because I love the beach, so, but we can put through them, so I just, found a pretty shell and thought it would be cool to hold it up and get it as sharp as I could with my silly little iPhone and pull her out the back.
Wow,
Good job.
Yeah, that is an interesting show.
that is.
Yeah,
I like the people in the background.
And they're nice clouds.
Mhm. The rising straight.
Where was that? Shelter
I think it was, is it Holden Beach?
Yeah.
Beach?
It was Holden Beach.
Did you focus the iPhone on the
Shell.
shell so that it did
Yeah.
blur out the background?
Mhm.
That's probably portrait mode. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, portrait. Okay.
It was a case where portrait mode actually works. It doesn't work.
Did blur out the background
Yes.
nicely.
Well, the crop is right, I mean,
Yeah.
if any dimension change, I don't think it would be nearly as nice. You crop out more of the clouds or whatever, and it's basically on the birds.
I understand that rule.
Literally.
Yeah.
And this is silly, so.
That's-
Please note the guy in the ocean between my legs. I was at the beach and I was lying down and I thought, it's such a beautiful day, but I didn't want to sit up. And lo and behold, I have a whole series of photos of me and my legs at the beach. But it made me laugh, it made other people laugh, so I thought it was a trying to throw some interesting perspective in there.
Very unique.
Step out, you wanna get rid of it, but I think it adds.
Oh, no, I like the people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great blue sky.
There was actually a little bit of cloud right above my knee and I took it out. So, it's Michelle being silly at the beach.
Good. I like it a lot.
This one is.
Oh, nice.
So this is the most recent one. Outer Banks, just at the end of August, when the ocean was fairly angry from the remnants of a storm. And I'm in a condo 3rd floor up. And I just thought the ladies doing yoga out there in the early morning was a great balance to the lifeguard chair.
Mhm.
And even though I played with the light, because morning light like that is a little harsh. And so I sort of left it that way. Just so you knew it was morning, I guess. I didn't want to take that out too much.
When I think the fact that the people in that are darkened because of the way you process it, I think that it would be distracting if there was too much detail there.
Yeah, I came to the same conclusion.
And the fishing pole.
I actually think that's the warning flag. The flag isn't up yet, but that's where they
Is
put the no swimming. It's not a fishing pole, but. You don't believe me?
No, I was hoping it was a fishing pole,
Yeah.
because of course there's that chair to the left over there. I felt like the guy would be sitting there, Yeah.
It could be, but I don't.
Yeah.
I like how the cloud goes to that upper right corner too, kind of.
Semi-diagonal.
Yeah.
Did you think about taking out some of the foreground?
I wasn't thinking of cropping it. It did bother me that some of that is so dark down there, but again, when I was tweaking it a little bit, I didn't want to lose, tweaking that too much made my morning, just the early morning sort of go away. So I like it, but you're right, I could have cropped it up.
But it does give a nice balance with that, the sand, the water, and then the sky. Having that in the foreground.
Michelle, glad you're back.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
We're moving on to Larry.
Oh,
So, Orca.
What's more that?
Oh.
So,
Work job.
the, that was, I actually wrote down what I did. Amazing. So 315 millimeters with an F, 6.3 and an ISO of 100 and a 1/400 shot. So this was on a whale watching up in Washington State, and the water, as you can see, was very well, you can't see it now, but the water is very very smooth out there, and it was an overcast day because of the fires coming down from Canada were kind of interfering. But I get some sunlight off the back of that dorsal fin's about 6 feet. So it's, you know, we weren't like right on top of it. And it's the best shot I could get to, you know, as all of us, we take so many different of the shots, but that was the best one. Actually they have a whole library of information on these orcas. They know what pods they're in. Just that white spot, you can see a little bit of it by this jaw line. Those are identifiable by, they're similar to our fingerprints. So there's no two are exactly alike. So they can identify which orcas. This orca was born in 1995. And there's a little notch in the backside of the dorsal fin that also is an indicator for identification purposes. So there's a whole pod of them, but this was the best shot I could get of him coming out of the water as much as he did.
Larry, did they say anything about identifying them by their tails?
No, it's just by that white spot and by the dorsal fin.
I think it's kind of whale, but on the trip that I was on, I encourage you if you got pictures of tails, to send them in, because they can tell.
Yeah, he didn't, they don't come up, you know, like a large, you know, this is a huge whale, but he didn't come up.
So they don't flip their tails
No.
up. Okay.
They just, they stay down 30, 40 seconds. It's very annoying. Because, you know, you're there. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole point of the trip was to see orcas, you know. And you had 140 people on the boat, you know, all having, you know, telephoto lenses waiting for this, and everybody's getting really discouraged. Anyway, so that was what I did this summer.
it must be something to watch. I've never seen orcas.
And this one is knock your socks off.
So this is my son-in-law and daughter have a place on the other side of the mountain, and we drove to this lake, which they had never been to before. And you can see it was on the opposite side of the mountain, and there are some people that were in the corners. You could see them kayaking or surfboarding or something like that. But it's a beautiful lake, and it's just incredible. And the mountain, of course, that's Mount Adams, and then looking at it, you know, my wife pointed this out to me, that looking at it, that kind of like center looks like snow, but it looks like when this went off, because you know they all blow up, right? Because this is in the same line as Mount St. Helens, right? So that's probably where the lava came down.
Lava trail.
Yeah, the lava on that side of the mountain. 10, 20,000 years ago, whenever it might have been. But it's a gorgeous little lake, and there are a lot of people out there kayaking and things like that. Really,
Goes in the pit rails. No. The pit reels.
yeah. So yeah, the other side of the mountain is more snow.
But I like how the clouds are reminiscent of the volcano. It
Oh,
was like
yeah.
smoke from the
Looks like it
volcano,
did
so
erupt.
it was-
That's
They
the smoke.
cooperated in making that
Well,
analogy.
Yeah, that's a good point, Michelle, because I have pictures of it, the whole sky is full of clouds. So that was within an hour, the whole composition would have changed. And I took pictures of that as well, but this looked like it was going off.
Right, or smoking.
Since we only had 17, I've left some extras in.
And we can always get to my tips and tricks that was up there.
So that's mine as well. There's a market in Seattle up by the University of Washington, and it's on University Avenue, and they have this beautiful market that goes quite a long way on this avenue. They close off on Saturdays, and we just happened to be there. I just were there and said, "Oh, there's music," and there was jazz playing, and it was good. But these sunflowers, you don't really get the idea of how large they are, but they're huge. They're about this big, and they were in this pot. And this woman was selling flowers, in her booth there. But I just thought those were magnificent. And then the flowers below it. Yeah, they are. And they marigolds. I know, they're just gigantic, but the sunflower, I just love the sunflowers.
Colors in there.
Anyway, so that's.
That the field is right.
Yeah.
Good one for you. Frank is next.
Oh, that's great.
It's, yeah, this one came out of my archives. It was taken, I think it was 2 years ago when my son was down with his sons, and it was a hot day. We took the boys over to the Chatham Park splash pad.
Oh, yeah.
And he just loved it inside there. I mean, first it was cooling off, but so I, snapped a picture of him. My only drawback was I wish I hadn't gotten that woman in the background in, but there were plenty of people around, and you just couldn't do it. You just couldn't block them out. And the only thing I did do was, she was pretty much in sharp focus, and I just kind of blurred it as much as I could. Yeah, but
the black swimsuit actually adds.
yeah.
You get to see the.
You get to see the.
Yeah, it didn't offend me too much that she was in there, and there's another little kid down in the bottom there. But what did I do? I think I shot that because I wanted to get stop action, like, let's see, yeah, 1/600, no, 1/1600 of a second I shot that at. It was f7.1, and it was an ISO of 320. So it was a really bright day when I did this. And,
Perfectly exposed.
Yeah.
so I got the water and stop action, and that was fun.
Cool. That's this one.
Now, this one was taken about 3 weeks ago when I was over in Portugal. And one thing about summer to me, when I was growing up in Long Island, my brother and I used to go out on this ledge and jump into the sound. And we get a lot of friends out there doing it. So I was walking in the town of Porto, and I saw these kids on this bridge, and that bridge is probably about 30 feet high. And the other kids are all spotters because there are boats constantly coming in underneath. So they let them know when to go. It'd be a hell of a thing to have that kid land on your boat, but
Stay friendly with everyone.
yeah.
But I like the midair shot you took.
Yeah, because I waited until one kid Cause these kids, obviously, they were scared because it took a long time for them to get the courage to jump. So I sat there waiting and waiting. And finally, this kid left. And so I got a picture of him in midair with the other ones up above looking down at it.
I wonder about the one in the yellow shirt, whether, I think it's just whether he's, covering her eyes a little bit. To be not
That's
seeing
right,
the
yeah.
others. He was too timid to look at the water. I think that'd be much.
And there were a whole group of boats, looks like boats were.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was like a dock area and boats were tied up there.
Oh, I see.
Sailboats.
Oh,
Yeah, Frank, you know how that is, like when you look at, maybe when you used to jump off that ledge where you look from the water up and like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Looking down is different. Like Angel's Landing.
I only saw kids going off that lower ledge. I never saw anybody jump off the top one where those three
Yeah.
kids are lined up.
That'd be hard to launch this stuff.
I know.
Or to stand up, that's even worse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at least here you got something to lean back on.
Yeah.
But it was fun watching them do it.
Stop action on the guy that's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's really, really clear.
Yeah, I think this is another one where some of the background helps bring out the subject a little bit. If his head was down a little bit.
Yeah, I
it would
got
be-
him a
it
second
wouldn't
later.
see it as well.
Yeah.
That was an Instagram reel. You want to see the next, you want to turn it on, right?
All right, Frank.
Yeah, I was thinking on the first picture where you had the lady that you didn't like in the background.
Right. I didn't like it, not personally, but I.
Yeah. But in Lightroom or Photoshop, either one, they have now, you can separate out the background from the subject.
Yeah,
And it's hard to guess whether it would guess that right or not. But I found a lot of times when I've got something in the background that I don't like,
right.
you know, I can do that kind of separation. It would take forever to try to do that with hand selection. And, you know, just in a click, you got, you know, the thing back where you can treat that individually. You could at that point remove it if you wanted to without touching.
Do
the
you
foreground.
lasso around it or is it something?
No, it just the program separates out what it interprets as subject
Okay,
from the rest, or another way you can do it, you can separate out foreground from background.
yeah,
And it doesn't always get it, you know, the way you would want it to, but sometimes when it does, you know, pop, all of a sudden she's on a separate screen. You can say, I don't like her there, you know, let's just
Yeah.
eliminate her and then put it back together.
oh, okay. And you say that's part of this Photoshop? Is it?
In Lightroom has it also now,
Light-
yeah.
okay.
Uh-huh.
All right, so, in this part.
That's great.
Model, but it's a pain to photograph. But you really like it at Town Lake Park sometimes, you love going there. Sometimes I can let him off leash a little bit, so he likes it. And I was just trying to take a picture, and this is like on the fly, man. I think I had my camera down by my side, and I just was snapping some stuff, so I had this is I think I had it probably on I did full manual, and I saw 100 and it's at 27 millimeters, so it's pretty wide angle. And then a 4.5, that's 4.5 at 80th of a second. I might have had an aperture, but anyway, I don't think I was just choose an 80th of a second to shoot at, but anyway, it was a little bit dark, but I thought it was summer because all the green in the background and
Yeah,
I was
Wet
like,
dog.
yeah, well, he looks like he's wet, but he said.
Oh, he's not?
No, he's just got maybe some dew on him or something. It's hot.
It's his hair gel.
That's hard, because I think the depth of field is so good, I mean, even the back of the ears start to go out of focus a little bit, but his body in particular, but enlarging it makes me wonder about that as a crop.
Yeah, and I tried some different crops and, in fact, my first choice, I was pulled way back and I was like, oh, I need to commit tighter. I was like, put mine in a folder and then I come back and look at it different times. Before I decide really what I want to do. But I also, I like that his eye on the right side was in focus, and I've always read that that's, you should try to have one of the eyes, And I think his nose might be a little bit out of focus, but his eye is in focus.
Mhm.
Yeah. In focus for me.
It's 4.5.
My boy.
Yeah.
Cool pup, six dot. This one is Texas well.
Oh, and that's just in my front garden, and after I sent this one in to Mike, I looked at it, I think, man, I still don't like the red flower, it's distorted.
Mhm.
I think it's the focus, and I shot this with a aperture priority, and it's at an ISO of 108, so I'll let it go auto ISO, it's 180. For the ISO, and it's 57 millimeters, and it's an f11, I guess 60th of a second. And I realized that probably if I had shot an f18, maybe it'd be in focus. So I back and did some more thinking, well, maybe I'll substitute, but I just couldn't get it. And I think it's the limitations of my lens and camera. I just think it doesn't handle that color.
Well, and
So well, but I picked that one because of the diet. I saw a friend on Facebook posted a sunflower, like faded, like a sunflower defoliated, and he captioned it end of summer. I was like, that's what I need. It's the end of summer. So it's part of it. So that was my idea for it.
well, except on the red, I think I've said this before, but and I don't think it's your camera, but almost all cameras red just is too intense. And going to the sliders where you can do saturation and pull down the red a little bit.
I could try maybe even highlighting that, or there's no other red. Well,
If it was the red, if you dropped it to the red one behind it, and I think that your concern about it being a little fuzzy, soft, might disappear if your eye wasn't drawn to that one first.
Mhm.
Yeah, but the leaves look really in.
Yeah,
So I don't understand.
but it's a little closer than those leaves. And the other thing I was going to do, and I even took this picture on a tripod. So I was thinking, well, I'll see if I can get the right depth of field with by choosing a tight aperture. And then I thought, or I can have it a middle aperture and do a blend, do like three exposures and combine them. And so I might be able to do that too. I might play with that subject a little bit and see what comes out.
You might have been able to back off a little bit and then crop it.
Yeah, and I tried that in one of my later shots too, and I guess I just didn't get the composition I wanted. I think technically that flower got better, but then when I would go back and I like this composition better than what I took afterwards. So yeah.
Channeling Graham, looking for pictures within pictures.
Yeah, right.
I really like those too. Yeah, the texture and the color. I like that.
Like it all that. That would be a good picture by itself. Yeah. All right. Good job, Chuck. Tom is up.
Okay, for this.
It speaks for itself, but that.
Sorry.
It speaks for itself.
Yeah.
It says,
Watermelon.
Yeah.
And but what I really like is Mike might want to do a tight top on this. I really like the green against these wild.
Yeah, right.
That's what I was really like a coral. Yeah. Anyway, I obviously had the whole woman in there, but
yeah, who wanted to see that?
That's what I was gonna send the first, but no, I really like the orange. That's it.
That is. Then there's this.
Ooh.
So there was, this is at the house we were staying at this. And, so it's a storm and the.
Umbrella took a header.
Picked up that umbrella.
And so you said storm, I'm still thinking. Well, I was looking at it again, Steve.
Yeah, right.
And I'm thinking it's a Tom thing. Did you put that boat in?
No, I didn't, but I did also not take it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want. It was Tom.
Really like the stark contrast of the color. Yeah.
The bottom of a swimming pool. Oh.
It is,
I don't know, I think I would have gotten in the pool, taken out the boat, moved all that other stuff and just done an abstract of trying to make the umbrella look.
Yeah, well, I
You didn't want to jump in the water?
Sorry?
You didn't want to jump in the water? Yeah.
So when I first saw the rail, I thought it was almost like a jewelry piece, you know, like
Oh.
paper metal, and it was like that, and that other half moon thing was some kind of stone or plastic or
I like that.
And I like
like a
the,
found art, it's like a found art.
the snorkel with the, with the mask.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, what was that? You really have to focus in on this.
There's a lot in there to focus on, it's great.
Yeah.
Makes you think. What is it?
All right. That one is next.
Wow.
For me, I went to the Northeast District Park for the first time last week, and these three shots are all there. Bug spray on yourself before you go. We found a pasture. I was with Daddy and we found a pasture. And ended up lying down, taking shots, and of course, I'm eaten up with bugs. But anyhow, that is a picture that I thought was sort of speaks to summer with fall coming, with the dead one behind. I shot that at 250 millimeters, f5.6 100. 150. Oh, no, 100. I can't read my writing.
Did you do full manual or did you do a aperture or priority on one of the other two?
That was one of the first shots I took, and I was probably on. I began to go more with sort of priority shape. And working with it. And getting it and
We were supposed to start dancing.
it's less trouble getting a clear spot.
And how did you get the background black?
I was very underexposed, and it just happened.
Yeah.
It was in the sunlight, and I underexposed it here. I was also shooting raw for the first time.
Oh, okay.
And
And what
250.
okay, yeah, that'll blur out.
Yeah, that was a good way to write it.
Looks like.
I guess it's salvia or sage, I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
Just thought it was gonna be back in the summer, but it's gonna be dead, that's going soon.
I don't want to say that I like the shot from the very beginning when I saw it. But I would like to see if you had pulled that, the back. Limb, whatever it is, stem. Pulled it out so that it wasn't behind. And I think that especially with that dark black, absolute black background. You know, it's gonna get really good. How did that happen?
I just stretched my screen and somehow it changed.
Well, you know.
Oh, I'm still hooked up over here.
Oh, okay. Well, I was wondering about that. I was wondering why the talking person name and the thumbnail. Here, they're not
I kept forgetting that I'm still hardwired in.
Something else, I don't want to change what's happening, but another thing. I'll get that after we shoot. Well, okay, Helen also.
We found a meadow, there's a walk around the pond that's dedicated to caregivers. And we found a meadow and then it's closely mowed, and then there's a section that's not closely mowed. It was a wisteria thicket that had killed several trees. I always laugh, Mockingbird from the highest point.
Yeah.
In Lyle, found him, he's really out of focus, but I just like the way that the dead wisteria vines.
I think you could solve that short.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing.
I blew it up when you sent it to me, and I did that thinking that maybe there was another crop, but it is in focus. Bird is in focus.
Somewhere I have one where I took out more of the vines, but I think that. I just thought that was always safe things in weird places, and I'm getting too tired to go back. Yeah, I thought that was 250, 9.5, 250 second, ISO 100. And that was, I don't remember what time of day it was, I guess it was in the morning.
I like the way that branch
Uh-huh.
frames him.
Yeah,
He sits right in the center of.
yeah.
Well,
The fact that he moved his head to allow the sunlight to go kind of on his breast there. If it were facing the other way, it may have been a throwaway. Yeah, it's,
It not seen.
Yep.
Gaze, you wouldn't have seen the left eye.
yep.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I looked all over the internet and I don't know what it is. It's something that's mimicking a monarch so that it won't get eaten. But what? I don't know. Wow.
Spectacular, whatever it is.
Lots of them, whatever they are, all over the bushes.
It's like a bee on its back.
Yeah, 83 millimeter. I have the 400 on that one.
It's like a Native American design.
On Flickr, almost for anything, bugs, frogs, birds. If you post, there will be a bug identification group, at least one on Flickr. And I don't know how many times I found out what the thing was by posting to those groups. So find a bug group and you'll get an answer within a minute. This is a really good job.
Yeah.
It is.
And those monarchs are toxic, and so bugs do mimic them to keep them getting eaten. And so that must be what that's all about.
Nice, and clear.
So.
Did not, yeah.
You know, we never got back to those tips and tricks.
And my pictures didn't show up.
What?
I had said 3 in, I think, 2 or 3.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, what, I'm getting it back. Okay.
So Bill, yours is shot.
No,
No, I'm sorry, I was trying to get away from, the photos, so I could go to liquid.
Yeah, Bill said he submitted, they didn't show up on the listing.
Well, I always send notes, but apparently I sent a note prematurely. Okay, one second, sorry, but you spoke up. So now I need to go back to the,
I always have the 2 in a folder I can pop up.
I got it here. So. Gonna have my email next to it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this last week we're out at Duck and folks next door, it was a nice day and they had their flag kite out there.
Wow.
And if I remember correctly, I shot this somewhere around 300 millimeters because I was using the Z8 with the FTZ2 with my 200 to 500 at 300 millimeters. And I was probably shooting it around 5.6, just whatever the minimum aperture was. But what was important, what I did is I took about 5 or 6 different ones, but I was on shutter priority because what I wanted to do is have the kite still because the tail of it was spinning. If I shot it at say 1,000th of a second, it would be all static and it wouldn't be showing what I actually saw. So I took probably about 5 of them at different shutter speeds and just waited for the one that showed what I thought was the right amount of movement in it. I don't have the 180 to 600 yet.
I don't either. I'll let you know if they actually produce it.
This one,
I was afraid that on my screen, it didn't show up very well. There's a lot of detail on the bottom of it.
it was just kind of a muddy, moody kind of look. You know, I kind of thought that this is a scene that I think of the end of the summer. Yeah, I got a partial moon up there. Yeah, a little bit of red in the on the horizon toward the sound side. And then some of the homes that are out there, they're dark because there's nobody there. So it's kind of like a end of the summer kind of feel to it.
It looks like a painting. Watercolor maybe.
Bill, I'm sorry,
It's no big deal.
I remembered the photos. I just sent that, and I know I responded, but.
I think I have one more below it. One more below it.
Oh, yeah.
This was right in front of the house that we rented. And this guy was just digging. He got this crab about this big and he wasn't afraid of it. And he got it and was throwing it up and doing. So after he did all the digging, did all the stuff he did, he decided, I'm done digging, now I'm chilling. So what I did is I tried to keep him sharp and then have a little bit of the background fall off, not fall off as much as say with Michelle's image, but just kind of have him looking out at the ocean, just
Waiting for some.
Yeah.
To come in.
And that's not our dog. That was just some guy up the other side of the beach. But just that was just a fun one.
Any follow-up, ending announcements, comments? No,
We're gonna do bills. It's a-
Bill's, tips.
Bill's tips and tricks.
we skipped that too? Did I
Yeah.
skip that too?
Oh, you jumped off that bridge with those kids. It was such a jump. Actually, since I'm hooked up, I guess it'll just. Oops, let's see.
Congratulations to Mike for making. Great work.
David and Pastor Andrew helped a whole lot. And I guess it goes to show you solve one problem and then there are others, and this one happened to be brain memory, not laptop brain.
Well, I decided to put something together because I've had trouble at this, is taking pictures of the moon. And when I was out at the beach, we had a moon. And the thing is, I thought it was fairly good, but then I go out on Facebook and there's a whole group out there for Nikon photographers. And they had a bunch of pictures out there saying like, man, I'm still an amateur at this moon thing. So
can you share screen?
it is.
Yes.
Oh, for Bob.
Thank you.
I'm glad you can still hear his problem.
Let's see. Okay. Come on.
You can only do one or. No.
I guess I'll go here.
There you go.
Got it?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So after I saw it, I figured it's starting to get darker at night now. This was kind of the time of the year that a bunch of us might get out at night sometime and try something, because we did it the one time with the light painting and things like that. And it's something that I would like to get better at too. So I figured I'd put a little something together, maybe encourage a group to get out some night when we have a good moon. And here it's just giving you the basics. And what I'm going to do is send out on an email the entire article. I just took little bits and pieces of it. You know, if you want to learn all the different phases of the moon and different apps you can use, that you can do at your leisure. But right here, it's just basically is telling you that you need a telephoto lens, something to get out there.
Okay, so what's the minimum that you can use for a telephoto?
The longest you have. The image that you'll see at the end was with mine is a 500, but that's full frame. So for you, that would be, whatever your longest.
Yeah, it's 300.
300.
315 actually.
That's one of them.
Yeah, but every time you read about this, you always read that people have at least 500 or 600 millimeter lenses.
Well,
300.
Oh, is that what you took it at? Okay.
So.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. we just try to, we're trying to find, fill this frame as much as we can. Thing is, you can use it with a tripod, but if you have a good bright moon, you can do it handheld as well. So just let's see. This is just some of the basic settings that the person who wrote this article. Number one, they talk about shooting raw whenever you can. So you have all the data that you can manipulate in your post-processing. Go to manual mode, full manual. For people with mirrorless cameras, that's really easy now because we can see exactly what it's going to look like.
There it is, that's good. Whatever you did.
Nothing.
Been
The least I do, the better off we are. Yeah, they talk about setting it up on manual mode, setting your own ISO and aperture and shutter speed. They talk about here using the lowest or what they call the native ISO that your camera has. There's something strange about Nikons that make our ISO 64, ISO 500 the same.
That's interesting.
Where you can actually shoot at 500 and it will give you the same dynamic range as 64.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, and it's by camera. Some Canons do it, Nikons do it. But for us, we're just going to keep it at the lowest ISO. Apertures start off about f11. And then the shutter speed of 1/100th. And this is why I say that you can actually shoot this handheld, because 100 with image stabilization, you should be able to do it. White balance, move it to daylight. That's if you're not shooting raw. If you're shooting raw, you just let it go because you're going to adjust your temperature in post. The important thing is to start understanding that you can do some focusing on the back of your camera. For people with DSLRs, you have the LCD in the back. Mirrorless, you're just seeing what your sensor's showing you. But you can magnify what you see so that the moon gets bigger and bigger. So then when you want to focus it, you're going to be focusing on a bigger image and you'll be able to get a sharper image. A lot of cameras, and Michelle and I spent a little time yesterday going through hers, and I saw while I was going through the menu system, she had peaking, which what it does, if it's too dark for you to focus on something, you put this focus peaking on it, and all of a sudden, as you move your focusing, all of a sudden you might see like red come in. And that's telling you that your sensor is sensing that that's now sharp. So there's these, some cameras have that option, some don't. But I used it, I remember on the D850 a lot, where, I might have something a little dark, do nighttime photography, trying to do stars or something like that. But, and that's some of the things that I need to learn more about as well. Image stabilization, turn it off if you're on a tripod. And let's see, for the camera shake, if you're using a DSLR, you can do what they call a mirror up lock, which takes the mirror away. It puts it up, and then when you're looking through your LCD on the back, you're actually seeing the image that you're going to take. And also 2 or a 5-second delay. So once you have your scene, you have everything set up, you press your button, it'll be a self timer for 2 or 5 seconds, lets everything stabilize and take the shot as still as possible to keep the, what I would call the user shakeout. Okay, let's see, Bob, if this is going to go to the next one. Did you change, Bob?
No.
Good.
Yes, got it.
How about this one now?
Yep, this is basic camera setting for.
Yeah, and you see Looney 11? Yeah.
Yep. Got it.
And the whole idea is the word basic when it comes to this, is that this is a starting point. You go out there, you take the image, you look at it. You make your little decisions if you're gonna go up an f-stop or if you're gonna change your shutter speed, to get the shot. There's no one thing that you can just sit in there and say, it's a moonshot, it's gonna be perfect. it takes a little work, takes a little practice. But, like they mentioned here, just change your settings. And what I always have told people here is that practice, get out there and practice this. There's even listing down there to bracket your shots. Just like we were talking about bracketing one time. Take one at a certain setting, do one underexposed, one overexposed, and put them together and see how that works. So as I was reading this, I was thinking about things that I need to start doing, and I thought maybe if there's people here that are interested in, following a journey, we can all get together some night over at Farrington or at the Bynum Bridge or someplace that we can do some things like this. In this shot here, this is the one that I took from the deck. And though there's detail of the craters, I see so many other ones out there that are just so much better. And like I put up there, I did it with my Z8 with the 2 to 500 millimeter at 500, 5.6. I probably could have changed some of these based on what they suggested in the article. But it's just something that, when I saw other people's, I said, damn it, I got to learn how to do this and do it a little better. So
I like the idea.
The atmosphere, we have a lot to do.
Yep, but it was beautiful and there's low humidity this day, so it's still my fault.
Well, that's,
I think that's.
yeah, it's.
Well, one of the things to not underestimate is the shutter speed, because even and I think this one is sharp because it was 320. You get down too low on shutter speed, and the moon's moving, and you're not looking for moon trails.
Yeah, because if you're doing astro and you're doing stars, you can, like with a full frame, with say a 24 millimeter lens, you can go 25 seconds without a star trail starting to happen. But with the moon, it's moving faster than. So it might be interesting to do sometime is like a 1 minute long exposure with the moon, just to.
There's a couple that brings to mind, somebody that there was a whole cycle. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Multiple frames, and put on the same. And those are really old. All right, Bill, I stepped on you more than once today, tips and tricks and not photos, but sorry. And, I agree with talking more about, what Chuck's been doing, but let me just put that in the next meeting we have. Sure. We have some time for it. The next meeting is the 10th, and to add another complication, I'm going to be gone, which means we can't do it. I don't need to be arrogant about this, but we can't use storage and do a hybrid without using the storage. And so Bill is going to host the meeting, but it will be back just regular Zoom.
Okay.
And so I'll try to coach someone to get an email out giving the address for the Zoom meeting. It's going to be a different one. And to also send pictures for that challenge to Bill. So there'll be yet another unique meeting code. And that comes about because I had to schedule meetings for the next 6 months. And I had to think that it's anytime we have to just to do a common Zoom meetings, there will be the same code that you're going to get next time, but we'll remind you.
Okay.
I said I didn't want to jinx it, well, I've done a pretty good job of doing that already today. But it didn't occur to me until we were in meeting that I didn't have to hook up by cord to the monitor. And you know that when my old computer, it was always there. And this time without even thinking about it, it locked on. Need to solve a few other little problems, but they were minor compared to what we had when we were just a no-go from the beginning, so. And Bob, any feedback you have about the hybrid business, were you okay with everything?
The sound was good, was very good, wasn't perfect. I can hear you, Mike and Bill. And I heard probably 90% or so of everybody else there. But it was very, very much acceptable. And I really appreciate getting to see everybody's pictures today.
So
Great.
how you feel?
How you
What's
feeling?
that?
How you feeling, COVID man?
I'm back. I feel good, but I'm trying to follow CDC protocol and not go out yet and wear masks and stuff like that. So I thought today would have been too early to be in a meeting.
All right, Bill's workshop on the 3rd. Regular meeting by Zoom on the 10th. And we'll be back to the next meeting 2 weeks after the 10th, that'd be the 17th to 24th. Back to
2 weeks.
hybrid. Have a good rest of your week. Oh, Stephen, go ahead.
Yeah, just one thing. I was thinking, another group that I belong to, we frequently have lunch after meetings. You know, it allows for conversation, getting to know people in a way that's kind of can't when there's an agenda that